October is spooky season, which means it's time to review some horror movies. And of course, over the last few months, I've also seen lots and lots of suggestions, comments, recommendations for me for Indian movies to watch. So I figured, hey, why not? Right? Let's talk about Tumbbad. From first-time director Rahi Anil Barve, Tumbbad is a Hindi-language period horror film and tells a multi-generational story of a treasure hidden in the 20th century village of Tumbbad, Maharashtra. I think most people know by now that no, I'm not the biggest horror fan in the world, but this was a great opportunity. Like I said, to watch an Indian movie like this, so highly recommended that I was kind of excited to sit down and watch this one. As far as story goes, I don't think I want to go into it like at all because I feel like this is one of those movies where the less you know, the more you're going to get out of it. All you really have to know is that it is a horror movie. It is creepy, and it's got this very real life kind of feel to it, and then with this supernatural lore that kind of comes. Look, it's again, I almost say, yeah, the less you know, the better. Right off the bat, this has a completely different look and feel to any Indian movie that I'd seen up to this point. Most of those movies had this very bright, positive color palette, and this sort of passion for life kind of theme to it. This is much more grounded, much more, I would say, adult in nature, not adult as in like, nudity and stuff. I'm talking about like just the subject matter. It's much more adult, it's much more serious. Um Sometimes that's a good thing and sometimes it's not. But for this one, I feel like it really helped to set the tone and the mood for what this movie was going to have in store for me. I was really, really taken by the score and the sound design in particular. Those both. I was sitting there going, "Wow, this is." I mean, it just felt so different than what I'd seen up to this point. I can't say that enough. It just felt really, really, really different. And the sound design in particular, man, they don't worry about not using the surrounds. I mean, they are there, and it is a very enveloping kind of soundscape, which is really really cool when you're in a horror movie, and sometimes you're trying to make out what's going on. The sound design really helps to sell it, and I think they did a great job of that. The set design, the costume design, everything is, to me, pitch perfect. I mean, it really sets the tone and it gives the story the ability to move through it without any 1 second guessing it, which is, again, we'll get into why that's a big deal later, but wow, it's really, really well done. My biggest single problem with the movie, and this is one of those things that some people will disagree with me on, but some might say you might not need something like this in the movie. But for me, there's no real characterization in the movie. There's no one to really root for. Our protagonist is more of you're just watching his story, and he's not really someone you're rooting for. And it's just this is what's happening to this character, and you kind of see I guess the decline of this character throughout the years. And I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting, but I wish there was more for me to really to really get invested in. Now, what horror movie is complete without a song in the middle of the movie talking about the theme of the movie? It's one of those things that it's in the other movies. It really sort of sells the idea of the movie to me, and it's just kind of makes you smile and just kind of it's awesome. Here, it almost felt out of place. Everything was so serious and without I guess referring to itself, and that's where it was kind of weird for me. I mean, there's probably people that will disagree with me on that, but it actually took me out of the moment because I'm sitting there going, yeah, this is the movie. Yes, we're watching the movie. Yes. So I guess the big question is it scary? Yeah, it's definitely messed up. The weird thing about me is that when I'm watching a horror movie, I don't get like really creeped out or spooked anymore. You know, I guess I'm just old and jaded. I don't know. But I'm sitting there watching it, and definitely there were moments where I was like, "Oh, okay. All right. I hadn't seen that before." It's definitely super creepy, and there are visuals in this movie that I will not soon forget. Now, here's where we get to the crazy part. This movie was made over a period of 6 years, basically twice. They shot and edited the movie twice. They didn't like it the first time, so they came back and they redid it. And that's I don't know of many movies that I've heard doing that. But then on top of that, the budget was extremely low. It's 50 million Indian rupees, which comes out to, in American dollars at the time, around $630,000, which again, you're looking at the sweeping shots of this movie, the way that things are framed, everything, you're just like, this was that, wow, that is really, really low budget. So I guess what it really comes down to is this movie worth watching? For me, it totally was. This was a lot of fun to watch. And again, on my journey of watching Indian film, I think this was a good next step because it took me completely away from what I'd been experiencing and showed me something new. And that was cool. But I think for most people, it's like, hey, you know, if you're in for a different kind of horror movie, I would say absolutely check it out. In the US, it's available on Amazon Prime in Hindi language with English subtitles. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, I think it's worth the journey. So, Tumbbad, quite the movie, quite the experience. But I'm curious, for those of you who have seen this movie, what did you think about it? Let me know down below and we will talk about it. And of course, if you've got recommendations, suggestions for Indian movies, horror movies, whatever, you can leave them down there, and I read every single comment. I love it. It's one of my favorite things is hearing from you all. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.